Good morning and welcome to the American School of Marrakesh's Masterclass series. It's my pleasure to introduce today the Masterclass presenter, Vanessa Branson. The Masterclass series started 3 years ago as an initiative of the parent-teacher organization here at the American School of Marrakesh. We are delighted to have as our guest speaker Ms. Branson, who is actually presenting for a second time as part of this series. The first time was hosted at her Riyadh in Marrakesh, El Fen, and this time we're delighted to have her here on campus at the American School of Marrakesh. To give a more detailed introduction to Ms. Branson, I'd like to introduce our parent-teacher organization representative, Ms. Pretty Paul Kadiri, at this time. Thank you.
A very warm welcome to our wonderful young men and women. Thank you for being here with us today for today's masterclass with Vanessa Branson. So as Dr. Asato said, the masterclass series started during those dark days of Corona when we were all stuck in our offices and rooms and houses and we had access to very little. So the idea was to bring the best speakers, creators, inspirers, educators, artists, rappers, dancers, musicians, scientists, to all of you. So they were offered as immersive and interactive experiences, face-to-face, like we are now. But remember those days we were limited by an audience of 20 people. And they were beamed worldwide, so our community of parents, students, alumni, investors, sponsors could also log in and share what we were experiencing. So we had a range of people, and I'm just going to mention a few. We had all the way from the Moroccan, the famous artist Mahi Bin, who's running 5 orphanages in Morocco, to Badis, who's the CEO of Noor, the largest solar plant in the world, which is in Barbazat. A great career opportunity for our kids, and Morocco's plan to be by 2030 50% solar independent. So all these were giving good messages to our students. The rapper Master Flow, Chef Moha, then we had the head of MIT, the director of open learning, Dr. Vijay Kumar. We had more recently the head of UNESCO for Maghreb region, and we had Carlos Verona a few months ago. He's a director of Cervantes. So the idea with the master classes is to inspire, to educate, to expose, to show you guys that there's a whole world out there and there are many, many alternative careers and ways that you can contribute. You don't have to be CEO of a company. You can choose something local, you can engage, you can do something good and have a very fulfilled life. Today, we're delighted to welcome Vanessa Branson, who is an entrepreneur, an arts patron, an ecological activist, a writer, and she calls herself an accidental hotelier as well. If you allow me, may I just read a little about Vanessa so it sets the stage for today's conversation. Vanessa is a champion of global cultural and ecological initiatives and is frequently sought out as a keynote speaker and event chair. Thank you, Vanessa, for accepting our invitation. We're completely grateful that you've come. As the founding president of the Marrakesh Biennale, some of you may have visited, she created North Africa's only trilingual arts festival. That's in the visual arts, literature, and film. And she brought to it acclaimed international and Moroccan artists. In October 2014, Vanessa Branson was decorated by His Majesty, the King of Morocco, by an award called the Royal Distinction of Officer of the Order of the Wasim Alawite Dynasty, a royal honor, in recognition for all that she's done for the arts in Marrakesh. She's brought an eclectic collection of artists, musicians, performing artists, and really set the stage for the art scene in Marrakesh. She was also in London, and I think you must be continuing with all these activities. She's created the wonderful fund collection. She's the creator and the co-director of the Portobello Arts Festival and the Vanessa Devereux Gallery in London, where she concentrates on helping emerging and new artists. About 20 years ago, she bought and she restored a crumbling ruin in the Medina, and she's converted it into a beautiful hotel called El Fen. She's a trustee of the British Moroccan Society, the Laila Alawi Foundation, and as well as a trustee for Virgin Unite. Her memoir, 100 Summers, was published during the days of Corona, and we had her as one of the speakers on the 21st of May, 2020. For today's format, Vanessa is going to talk a little bit about her life and her work and some messages for you guys. And we're going to follow it very swiftly with a Q&A. So feel free to think of questions and ask them after her speech. Over to you, Vanessa.
Wow. It's a real privilege to be invited to talk to you guys and to see all you beautiful people out there. When I was thinking about what to say to you, I cast my mind back to my own childhood. At the time, the Beatles single, When I'm 64, was on everybody's lips. It started, when I get older, losing my hair many years from now. None of us kids could have imagined ever getting to 64, and we certainly had no idea of the adventures and challenges that lay ahead for us back then. And trust me, you guys are in for some pretty big surprises yourselves. It's so exciting. So I thought I would share a few stories that have helped me not only survive my life, well, survive all that life has thrown at me over the decades, but have also helped me take pleasure along the way. A little background. I was fortunate enough to have had joyous parents. My father left home to go to the war aged 20 and didn't see his parents again for the 6 years that it took to chase Hitler's army across North Africa and up out of Italy. My mother spent the duration of the war as a signaller in the Navy, counting the battleships out of the harbour and hopefully counting them back in again. She was also a dancer and immediately after the war went to Germany to entertain the troops. The war was still a present memory when we arrived. My brother Richard in 1950, my sister Lindy in 1955, and me in 1959. Having witnessed so much loss and sadness, they now focused relentlessly on the positive. And boy, we had fun. We were brought up on a small farm. Every room in the house was filled with lodgers, students from the local law school to supplement my father's meagre wages. Mum was a genius delegator, encouraging everyone to muck in and pull their weight. The vegetable garden was enormous, teamwork at all times, from gardening to cooking to log chopping and bonfires. Mum was enthusiastic and had a knack of turning every chore into a game. Seeing your friends and colleagues die so young gave my parents two gifts: a phenomenal energy and an eternal gratitude to life. And they, in turn, handed those gifts on to us. Before setting off for work, my father would wake us by turning on our bedroom light and saying, regardless of the filthy weather outside, "Wakey, wakey, rise and shine, it's another glorious day." And each evening, when he sat down to dinner, he would look around the table, rubbing his hands in expectation for the meal ahead, and he would say, "Isn't life wonderful?" When Dad died, he was 93. I had "Isn't life wonderful" tattooed onto my arm. Not in case I would ever forget his beautiful words, but when I explained to people who asked why the tattoo, it makes them smile. My parents resisted using fear as a method to control us. When dropping us off at school, Mum would never say, "Stay safe," implying that there was some sort of danger lurking ahead. Instead, she would say, "I can't wait to hear what you've been up to when you get home." Mum loved a story. And if we didn't have one to tell her at the end of the day, she would wail, "Oh, don't be so boring. Something exciting must have happened to you today." And we soon learned to become storytellers. Both my parents and my brother and sister and I were dyslexic. Only being hopeless at school work didn't have a label back then, and we were just thought of as being stupid. Richard excelled in sport, Lindy in art, but I didn't shine in any subject. However, I'd instinctively picked up Mum's motivational skills and led the charge on organising school events, shows and concerts. Don't stress, but everything you do today forms the building blocks, the foundations, upon which you will build your unique lives. I left school as soon as I could, when I was 15, and from then on I wasn't allowed to squander a minute. I did courses, cooking, interior design, secretarial. When still living at home, I made pocket money from cleaning for neighbours, and when I moved to London to live with Richard, who was busy building the Virgin Empire, I became a waitress. Little did I realise it at the time, but each job I took, however mundane, gave me the tools to one day develop what was to become one of the great hotels of the world, right here in this city. But I did have dreams back then. We were brought up to believe that we not only could, but should right wrongs and make a difference in the world. Mum used to say, "It's no good just sitting there complaining. Do something about it." I think the confidence that she had in us that we could actually make a difference made us believe that we actually could. I finally took a course that I excelled at, History of Art. I loved learning history through the medium of pictures and enjoyed the puzzle of conceptual art. It was a subject that suited my dyslexic brain. This led to an apprenticeship in picture framing, and then at the age of 23, I rented a small shop in London's Portobello district and opened a contemporary art gallery. Another skill not valued in school is the ability to make creatives feel good about their ideas, to provide an environment that they can thrive in. It wasn't until quite recently that I was even aware that this was a skill, because we often make the mistake of not valuing the things that come naturally to us. After having 4 energetic children of my own, I was travelling around Morocco with a friend, Harold, and we fell in love with the country. On the spur of the moment, and encouraged by my mother, of course, we bought a crumbling place in the heart of Marrakesh. It was 2002, the year after the attack on the World Trade Center, and it felt good to be swimming against the political tide. It was a bonkers decision though. Back then there was no infrastructure to help foreigners buy houses, let alone get them restored. But right from the beginning, we knew we'd embarked on the adventure of a lifetime. And so it was. At every turn, we met remarkable people. And you'll learn in your journeys that you're as good as the people that you work with. From Frederick, our project manager, to the carpenters, plasterers, tanners and tilers, we worked with the best. We employed only those who lived within a kilometre radius of Alphen, and I know of no other city that this is possible. Oh, and you're only as good as the people that you hang out with. So be discerning about the company you keep. Take note of the wisdom of the wise, because they've learned from experience. 2 nuggets passed to me from friends have remained to me from this day. Once when I was in New York, chatting away to a New Yorker friend of mine about what I'd been up to in his city, he quietly wrote on a napkin, "Ask, don't tell." Of course, listening to a native about his city was going to be far more enriching than boring on about my own insignificant experiences. And ask, don't tell is pretty good dating advice too. When we were feeling low, Mum had always taught us to get over it by doing something for others rather than thinking about ourselves. That's good advice, but when as an apprentice picture framer, I would stain fingernails, I told a wise friend that I was becoming increasingly crushed by a feeling of inferiority when approaching the posh girls working in the auction houses. And he told me not to worry. They were only there to look for a wealthy husband. As a rule of thumb, he told me, well, a good rule of thumb, he told me, is that people are the size they make you feel. And from that moment on, I noticed he was right. And I've never suffered from social anxiety since. In 2004, just after the invasion of Iraq, I was climbing the walls with the injustice of it all. Something had to be done, and with Mum's words ringing in my ears of "it's no good just complaining, do something," I gathered some friends together and we started an arts festival in Marrakesh. I called on all the creatives I'd worked with during my time in the gallery, and with the support of my friends and having El Fen as a base, I was perfectly placed to launch a meaningful event. The arts, and I mean all the arts, from film, literature, music, poetry and performance, provide the perfect platform for debate. I was ambitious. There was no reason that the Marrakesh Biennale couldn't become internationally recognised. And 10 years and 6 editions later, it was. But my goodness, it was a tough decade. To pull off a festival of this size, we held events in over 50 venues. I had to dig deep into my reserves and pull on all of my life's learnings. However, it was worth the effort, receiving the King's Medal for services to the arts in Morocco from Mohammed VI, the King himself, is one of my proudest memories. I could have taken my foot off the pedal then, only I didn't. Work is, well, it's not work if it's rewarding. I was afraid when Donald Trump was elected, afraid primarily for the planet. Trump is a climate change denier, but also his values were so at odds with those of my family. To carve our treasured values in stone, I set about the challenge of writing a memoir, covering 3 generations, from the end of the First World War in 1918 to the then present day in 2018. And I called it 100 Summers. Crawling back over the years was a joy. You're all too young to even consider writing a memoir now. But as the decades pass, bear in mind that when you do come to write your own memoir, you'll need some good stories to tell. And the best stories are the ones of overcoming adversity, of not getting snagged on failure, of brushing yourselves down, and coming up with a better idea. I urge you to have courage. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And above all, take pleasure and pride in everything you do. So, here I am today, grown older. I'm 64 next week, and my mother would be thrilled that I have so many stories to tell about my past. But you may be surprised to hear that from where I stand now, I'm pretty sure that my future has a few more surprises in store. Just as I'm pretty sure it's going to throw up some unexpected surprises, adventures and challenges for all of you lot too. Isn't life wonderful? Thank you. Does anybody have any questions now?
So, man, you just gave me amazing thank you again. Thank you so much for coming here today. It's a big pleasure for us. Speak loud. Yeah. So my question is, you're such an active person, right? So many different projects, so many different jobs, and so many different past experience, right? How do you manage all these at the same time? It must be quite a hassle, I must imagine. How exactly do you do it?
Okay, I have a really good PA. Honestly, as I said in my little talk, you're as good as the people you work with. And I think to surround yourself with really good people, as I said, the art of delegation, trust people. Quite often when you trust people, they surprise you and surprise themselves. And be quite organised. You know, I think it's taken a while to get to this point. It doesn't happen straight away, but I think it's a very good question. But I think I have really good people around me. Yeah.
I see. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question.
So my question to you is, in your memoir, you talk about your family and the closeness that you guys had. Now that you're a very busy woman, how do you manage to keep that closeness with your family?
Another very good question. And when you have the minute you squeeze a baby out, some switch gets turned on that makes a mother feel guilty that she's not doing enough for her children. And so I've always the balance between family and work is a very fine one, and sometimes it goes wrong one way and sometimes it goes wrong the other way. And I think on balance, because I've been working, my kids now are very proud of me and would do the same thing, but it did come as a compromise. But I'm happy to say we're a very close family still, and so I think I managed to pull it off, but it wasn't always easy.
Next question.
Thank you.
So my question is, so you chose Morocco out of all the countries to move to. What interested you in North Africa, and what interested you in promoting North African culture?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, my father got a real, developed a love for Moroccan culture, or Arab culture, during the 6 years that he was in North Africa during the war. And I think that must have just rubbed off on me, in a way. I sort of think that Morocco chose me rather than me choosing Morocco. I was here at the right time in the right place, and from the minute that we bought this old brewing, the energy was just right, and I met some extraordinary people, and I haven't regretted it for a second.
Thank you.
From your speech, we can tell that you've lived so many things and achieved so many beautiful things. What would you say have been the pivotal moments in your life that have led you to achieve these things and to seize those opportunities, make those decisions?
Well, the two biggest challenges that I rose to, one writing the memoir, and also the other, starting the arts festival, were born out of out of
Passion.
well, because I was angry and upset, to be honest. And so that they were big drivers into doing something that would somehow or other. You can't just sit by and let bad things happen. And but you can't. It's no good. It's boring just complaining about them. And I felt the need to be proactive and do something. But actually, writing the memoir, you know, there were times when I thought I didn't enjoy school, and but when I was writing about it, 40 years later, I suddenly had I suddenly had a new respect for everything I wrote about and a new love for everything I wrote about, and that was a great process. And it was an unexpected little bonus. Thank you.
Of all the artists that you have met and worked with, who have you admired the most and why? What skills and qualities did they demonstrate?
Ooh. I saw yesterday in a quote from Mary Quant, who was a 1960s fashion designer, and she said, "Good taste is death," and I thought that was rather great. So I've really loved artists who are prepared to take some risks, and yeah, you know, not necessarily fit into a genre. I don't know. I think it's impossible to compare one from the other, and but I think that some artists are so wrapped up in themselves. I think that and their own egos. You need to be, because your egos are quite fragile as an artist, and you're taking. I think the artists who manage to connect with their audience, not just be completely introverted, are my favourites, because they're more fun to be with. Thank you.
Are you grade 10? Okay, we're going to definitely need another question from grade 10, so all you grade 10ers start thinking.
So you've always talked about this risk-taking, entrepreneurial, adventuring mindset. I'm curious about how did your family, your surroundings, probably your circuitry Branson, help you cultivate that?
Well, I think having I think like all siblings, I felt I couldn't be competitive with Richard because he's in such a different league. But I wanted him to respect me, so that was a bit of a driver. But he was so busy doing his own thing. I think I don't think he sort of he was always very encouraging, but I wasn't leaning on him for support. I got a great deal of encouragement. You know, if ever I was nervous about doing something, Mum would say, "Don't be so pathetic. Have courage. You know, don't." But I took a little risk at a time. It wasn't like I suddenly, you know, it was baby steps. You know, it wasn't. It's baby steps. And what I wanted to say just now is that everybody you meet, everything you do, is leading you in those directions. And you know, and again, surround yourself with good people.
My question is, it takes a lot of dedication to write a memoir, and I wanted to know what you discovered about yourself personally while going through that.
That's a really good question, and I learned so much. You know, you think you're sort of sorted when I was 57 when I started it. And because I'm dyslexic, I think it made it a better book in a way, because you're just going very, very, very slowly and then going back over and over and over again. My biggest fear in life is boring people, so it raced along. And I think what I said earlier, I learned to really appreciate everybody I was remembering. I had a new respect for everybody. You know, everybody's individual lives it all takes a bit of effort. It takes a bit of effort to get going and and I really recognise this in other people. And but I think writing a book it just takes a dogged determination to finish it. It's so easy to start and give up. And when you write that, the end, full stop at the end of a book, it's just the best feeling in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall we just open it up to some questions, maybe some staff or teachers? Would you like to come up this week? I think we have time for maybe a question or two.
Hi, you're an inspiration, I must say. I'm sitting here, I'm so excited. So what do you think your next adventure would be here in Morocco?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me a difficult question. I know here, the thing about Morocco, and is that you have the feeling in this country that anything is possible. And I learned early on that anything is possible, but nothing is certain. And there aren't, honestly, you don't take it for granted, because it's not like this everywhere in the world. There's this feeling of optimism in this country and possibility, which is you should grab it. And you're all at the right age to grab this moment. Don't squander it, because in England, for example, at the moment, everything feels it's retracting. And here it's all opening out, and you are just at the age to catch it, that moment. For me personally, I've just finished a novel, which is really great. I say it's really great because this is the new thing, not to be too girly and run it down all the time. So I'm saying it's one of the best novels that's ever been written. Anyhow, it's going to be fun. And so I think what I'd like to do here is probably contribute more to the environmental hazards that are going on. Plant more trees, help save the indigenous herbs and species that are here, because that isn't a given, and that's going to be here forever. And so that'll be my next thing, so more environmental.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
And I think we're going to squeeze one more out of grade 10. So you have 3 minutes to think of something.
Thank you for being a speaker for our students. I like your style of writing. When I think about you, I think about honesty when it comes to description, everything. I knew your life was not easy. There were some challenges and everything, and you did not give up because it was motivation. As you can see, our students are the future of the world, the future of Morocco, the future of all the countries. Their life will not be easy. What advice can you give to students to not give up? I know there will be challenges, you will be stressed. When it comes to stress and to challenges, what advice can you give to students?
Well, primarily, I think have a good sense of humour, because I mean, you know, always, as I said, all the disasters make the best stories. And there's no point, you know, if you're in a real disaster, something seriously goes wrong, don't panic, and just think, be calm, and you can get your sort of way out of it. But I think, have fun, get good advice from people, and really, you know, get back on the horse again if something goes wrong. It's not that stressful, life. I mean, you know, there's this sort of concept, as long as you don't get too wrapped up in social media, which I think can do your head in. You know, where you get up in the morning, you come here, you know, you've got challenges at school, but they're not that stressful, just one step at a time, and you're going to have great lives. I'm really envious of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The last question from our grade 10er, Anisha Kavi.
So I wanted to know what led you to write your memoir, 100 Summers?
It's a good question, and I think it was all of the world conspired to make me do it. It was, you know, the sort of timing. I was, you know, my mum was getting to the end of her life. I wanted to My mum actually had vascular dementia. She never got Alzheimer's. So her humour and I really loved her. She was an amazing woman, and her sense of humour was there, her immaculate theatrical timing, but she just forgot, her memory started going, and I thought, well, that's going to happen to me. She used to say, write it down, because this is going to happen to you, and you thought, and so I thought, I better do that, so I did. Actually, can I just say one last thing to end on? Mum's one of her last bits of advice she gave me, when she was very old and her mind was floating away, she sat up and she said to me, "No, Nessie, if you don't do it, you haven't done it."
May I now invite Dr. Asato to make the closing remarks?
So, first of all, thank you so much, Vanessa, for sharing your life story with our students from grade 10, grade 11, and for all of you who are joining us from around the world. Truly inspiring. Perseverance, surround yourself with good people, and have fun. These are some lessons I'm walking away with from today's talk. I really do appreciate it on behalf of all of the American School of Marrakesh. Thank you so much for your master class here at ASM and for sharing your stories with everyone connected here around the world. What a gift.
Thank you for having
The PTO, the school, and the students.
me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.